Kings Island is a wonderful theme park located right outside of Cincinnati, Ohio. This past weekend, I got the opportunity to visit the park for 2 days and got plenty of rides on the park's many coasters, excluding the kiddie coasters, because I've recently realized I'm not that desperate for credits. Anyway, today I'll be ranking up my top 10 coasters at the park and giving my thoughts on them, with longer reviews most likely coming out in the near future, if I can fit them in with my absolutely slammed work schedule in future day trip plans to parks. Without further ado, let's begin the top 10. Coming in at number 10, and last place for the sake of this list, is a ride that I was a little disappointed by, Adventure Express. Now look, I'm probably one of aerodynamics' biggest defenders. I've only had 3 aero coasters that I genuinely didn't like. Unfortunately, I don't think this makes the list. Although I'd probably put it in the bottom half of arrows I've done. I sat in the very back row, and the jank was so bad at times that I felt like my spine was about to snap. There's a point when jank becomes too much, and this is absolutely one of them. Gemini has a good jank, Carolina Cyclone has good jank, Magnum XL 200 probably has a good jank. I don't know, it was closed. But anyway, that's not to say this ride is terrible, and when I go back I will be sure to ride it in a non-wheel seat, because the layout itself was actually pretty fun, and the lift hill at the end was pretty fun too, with all the, animatronics hitting the drums. Alright, here we go. Let's start off with some good old controversy. At number 9 is probably one of the most overrated coasters I've ever done in my life. Banshee. Easily the worst B&M invert I've ever done. There's no competition. The drop was good, but after that it just went so downhill from there. The rattle is borderline unbearable. So much worse than Rapterra, it's not even close. I know that Kings Island apparently has a problem with the soil on the ground being unstable, and that's what causes all the B&Ms to have a rattle. But I remember when I was riding Banshee, I even remember exactly when I had to stop, being at the bottom of that pretzel nut, whatever thing. I thought, how did this open the year before Fury, a glass smooth giga coaster? I don't know how they opened so close to each other. They're completely different rides smoothness wise. Obviously they're different models, but smoothness wise it's night and day. This thing was brutal. The vests don't help at all either. Anyway, let's move on to the next spot, which will almost certainly turn some heads. Number 8, Invertigo. Yes, Invertigo over Banshee. Let that sink in. I did not get the hate for this ride at all. Now I will say, I only got one ride in the back row going forward up the first tower, and while it was a bit shaky, it was nowhere near as bad as Banshee in my opinion, and it was mind-bogglingly intense. I do think it's one of those rides like I-305 where you have to take a break in between rides. I would have gotten more rides on it, but it actually happened to be my last ride of the night on the first day, and I honestly kind of forgot about it the next day due to all my marathons on the Beast and Mystic Timbers. Not a bad ride at all. The fact that it's number 8 just shows how freaking stacked this coaster lineup is, if anything. Alright, and number 7 is the Racer. I did both sides and did not notice much of a difference between the sides. Now, going into this, I was expecting it to just be like Racer 75, where it's decently smooth but doesn't have that great airtime, and I was pleasantly surprised at how powerful the airtime was on this. It was borderline shocking, and I thought it was way, way better than I was expecting, and obviously much, much better than its counterpart at King's Dominion. I hope this ride stays around for a while. I mean, the Gravity Group retrack did wonders for this thing. I mean, same with the Beast, but that's a whole different story, and we're going to touch on that very, very soon. Don't you worry. Alright, at number 6 is the Bat, my first ever aero-suspended coaster. And I'll say it was very fun. However, it made me pretty nauseous, but that was totally my fault since I forgot my medication before the park. Anyway, the swinging was pretty unhinged, and I think I liked it over Iron Dragon at Cedar Point due to it being taller and faster overall. Now, let's move on to Kings Island's top 5. This is going to be very interesting, so buckle up if you haven't already. Here we go. Kicking off our top 5 at Kings Island, we have Orion, their 287-foot tall Giga Coaster that's barely even considered a Giga Coaster. Now, unfortunately, what I said in the trip announcement turned out to be absolutely true. Fury ruined it. I know I haven't done Fury since October, but because I've done it 80 whole times, I've gotten a great feel for how it runs and its ups and its downs. I've ridden Fury in probably every seat and every single weather condition possible. To put this as simply as I can, Orion is basically just a neutered Fury. Only 2 of the elements really impressed me, those being the speed hill and the final banked hill, which gave me some shocking ejector. But the drop was a major disappointment, especially since everyone kept saying that the drop was better than Fury, and that's just flat out wrong. I even preferred Pantherian's drop over this, and that has shoulder restraints. Even though it is the worst out of the major headlining coasters at Kings Island, it's still better than the ones below it. Anyway, let's move on. Coming in at number 4 is my new favorite B&M hypercoaster, Diamondback. The airtime on this is immaculate, a full leap above Thunderstriker. The rattle is absolutely there, but didn't really take away from the ride for me personally. Neither did the trims. I sat in the very back row on both sides for my 2 rides, and the drop was great, and as I said before, the airtime was amazing and every single hill delivered. This is absolutely the best B&M in the park, in my opinion at least. Taking the silver medal is Flight of Fear, the best coaster in Area 72, and the best inverting coaster in the park. I found this to be about exactly the same as the King's Dominion version, and have it 1 spot below the King's Dominion version in my rankings. The launch is incredible, it's very intense, and even though the mid-course does completely stop you, you still pick up plenty of speed by the end. The restraints aren't that bad from my experience, much like the KD version, and I'm hoping that this thing stays around for a while, but I'm not honestly sure if that will be the case, but only time will tell. Also, shout out to my 8th grade science teacher. This is his favorite coaster ever, and he talked about it a lot. Our runner-up is Mystic Timbers, the GCI winning coaster. Now, I have a bit of a funny story about this one. My first ride on it was pretty much right after Diamondback, and I had just gotten to the park before that. It was in the back row too. I don't know what happened, but it did not impress me at all. I found it rough, and I found the laterals to be uncomfortable against the sides of the train. I gave it a 3-star review on Captain Coaster and didn't ride it again until the next day, which was after I had gotten lots of rides in on the Beast. I'm guessing the Beast must have done something to me because I absolutely loved it on the second day and got 5 rides in totaling 6, including the one on the first day. Airtime and laterals are an amazing combo, and they are absolutely exhausted on this ride. It feels so freaking fast. My last ride was in the front row around 9:40 p.m. on the last day, and I almost put it above the Beast as my number 1 coaster. Almost. Well, that got completely destroyed once I got a post-fireworks Beast ride at 11 p.m., but I digress. The shed wasn't actually as bad as I was expecting, even though I did not like how long we had to sit there and listen to whatever painfully overplayed 80s song was playing. I'm still working overtime to get Total Eclipse of the Heart out of my head. And the jump scare was pretty weak, but the ominous ambience leading up to it and the messed up audio of Don't Go in the Shed was pretty cool. Also, speaking of ambience, I absolutely love the audio they play in the plaza in the soundtrack. It's like so atmospheric. It feels like a horror movie, and it absolutely is. And it's absolutely amplified by the "Do Not Enter" message playing on repeat. Very creepy and cool. But of course, we have one more. The best coaster at Kings Island, my new number 1 winning coaster, and what might be my second shortest-lived number 1 overall, only behind the 20 minutes of Thunderstriker being my number 1 at Carowinds before riding Fury, is the Beast, the world's longest winning coaster. I cannot believe that a ride this wild is allowed to exist. This is one of the only roller coasters I've done where the roughness adds to the experience and makes it better. Let's do a very quick rundown of this ride experience, because if I were to spout off everything I love about this ride, we'd be here for hours. I'm probably going to be doing a full review of this thing, and I fully expect it to be at least half an hour long. Alright, the drop is great. Probably not as good as Grizzly's, but still bonkers. The Gravity Group retrack did wonders, same with Racer, as I said with Racer before. The first turn pulls some pretty good forces, but that little hill does pack a very big punch and I was pretty impressed. The trim after the next turn does hit a lot, however it does not take away from the ride. I'd be a little scared if that trim was off. It still absolutely tears through its many bone-crushing turns in that very loud tunnel that just makes everyone on the train scream in unison. I do really like that last turn to the second lift hill because it just comes so fast and slams your butt into the seat so hard you're not expecting it. So yeah, that's a cool moment. Now we get to the second lift hill and helix. I cannot get over this part. You start going down at a not so steep angle and are immediately trimmed. The trim is annoying, but for maintenance's sake, I'm glad it's here, so the ride can live longer. The helix is insane enough anyway. You continue going down and start tilting to your left. On my first ride, I actually started freaking out because even though I wasn't in the front, I could just see the start of that tunnel coming faster and faster and thought, holy crap, I'm gonna die. When you hit the bottom of that drop, the forces are unlike anything I've ever experienced before. That moment, that 1 second transition from the drop to tearing through the helix solidified it as my number one coaster of all time. It is still number 2 as of now, only behind to be revealed in the Cedar Point ranking, although I think it's obvious, but holy cow, this thing is insane. It's tall, it's fast, it's long, it's unrelenting, it's aggressive. I believe it's everything you could want in a ride. It's really not that rough either. If you're sensitive to roughness, I would recommend sitting in the middle of any car, although I personally prefer the wheel seats. Yeah, I prefer the wheel seats. I feel crazy saying that, but it's true. The beast is incredible, and I can't wait to get back on it one day. Anyway, to wrap this all up, Kings Island is a fantastic park. I love this place to death, and I mean it. Even with only one visit, I got to do everything I wanted to do. I rode every coaster except the kiddie ones, did the drop tower, and even got to try their blue ice cream, which was great. I can't wait to go back. Eventually. Do you agree with this ranking list? Post all those thoughts in the comment section below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share for more content in the future, and I'll see you next time.